Grainmaker. Welcome, everyone, to the Grainmaker Wrestling Podcast, a Prairie Proud wrestling podcast covering everything from Winnipeg to worldwide. My name is Blair Pacheco. Today, I am joined by a four-time PCW Tag Team Champion. He's part of Fantasy Intervention, and he's probably kicking your ass at fantasy football. You might know him as David London, also Thomas Tipple. So, how you doing, Dave?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, man. I mean, pretty happy to be here. I always like doing these little chit chats. And you're probably not getting your ass kicked by me in fantasy football because my last couple of years ROI is not great. ROI being return on investment. Not great. There are people way smarter than me. I can just, talk sometimes so people want to listen. That's all. You've probably beat me in most leagues.
A few years ago, I was in a league with you, and I think I got my ass handed to me a couple times throughout the season. I know I didn't do well, but yeah, it was a couple years ago.
Oh, God, I don't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't
Maybe
good.
I do.
So you do.
I don't know. I don't.
So we're going to get into, wrestling with you. First off, we're just going to talk a little football, a little bit of stuff like that, just to get going. I know you are huge into fantasy football. Before we started talking, I got to hear a little bit. And when did you first start getting into this?
Well, I've been playing fantasy football since you used to write it on paper. Like that's before the computer kick, as the kids would say, before ESPN and Yahoo and now most notably Sleeper for myself were around. You used to draft your players and write down how they did, their points. Like it was all manual. Mm-hmm. So I've been playing for my first fantasy league I ever played and had to have been, 15 years ago plus.
Oh,
yeah, I've been playing a long time. Like for football fans, like I remember drafting Kyle Bowler, which was a really depressing time in my life as a Ravens fan. And, the fact that they drafted Bowler and then I made the mistake of drafting him in fantasy those years back, like that was all stuff. So I've been at it a while. Probably, I don't want to say like I've been doing this for 17 years because it was off and on. Mm-hmm. The earliest I remember playing was probably 17 to 15 years ago, probably.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Ravens. You've been a lifetime Ravens fan, I take it?
Yeah, since they walked into the league, man.
Yeah.
You're there. I remember man, I remember being, oh God, how old was I? Just a kid, just old enough to know what was happening. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. Okay, I'm just going to pick a team. And then it honestly, this is all it was. I know people are like, I have so many cool stories of how I pick my favorite team. I don't. I was young. They were like, the first thing I saw, their logo looked cool. Yeah, it was 97.
Oh, nice. I mean, I know.
That was the first time. That was their first season. Well, 97 was the first season for me. And they've been the number one ever since.
I mean, the last couple of years, they've, almost had like a renaissance back to, with Lamar as quarterback, and he's been incredible.
Yeah. I actually went on a Twitter war today with somebody over him. So It actually consumes a lot more of my time than I expected to.
I mean, with fantasy football, that must take up quite a bit of time as it is, like staying locked in during the season. Oh, God, how do you balance that with, work and everything else going on?
Aaron's amazing. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. So the football that I play now for fantasy pretty much strictly is called Dynasty.
Okay.
So it's year round. Like your fantasy team is basically run like a real team would. You pick up guys, you drop guys, you trade guys. You got to go through the draft. So it's year round. It never stops, which actually makes it a little easier because there are periods where it goes up and down. Like right now, it's kind of like a crazy busy period of time. It's free agency. So there's just constantly stuff happening. Um, it just last year I struggled with balance and time, and like I'd be up till 3 a.m. negotiating a trade that definitely could have been done the next day.
Yeah.
But I'm such a psycho that I have to get it done. Like I got to get it done now.
Yeah.
So balance, like with my job's pretty good. Like I work 8 to 5 at the shoot job, and there's quite a bit of time in between jobs that I can like pick up my phone and check kind of what's happening and have like a short conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's with my friends.
That's
and like I'm in 33 dynasty leagues right now. And a lot of them are with kind of the same group of people, but there's always new ones. I'm trying to network, especially now that I'm somewhat working in the industry or starting to. And it's just natural to me now. It's just it's literally become a part of regular life. So some stuff had to get axed, like hockey. I think I've watched one period all year. I just don't have time between watching old games to studying to research. I just haven't. The baseball will stick around with me forever, but the other stuff has kind of gotten sacrificed for football, and I'm definitely okay with that right now. But yeah, the balance just comes with doing it and being obsessed with it. I'm obsessed, and you kind of have to be.
Oh, for sure. I mean, because I know just from talking with, other friends who are into fantasy football, like you're watching the waiver wires, trying to nonstop and
for 33 leagues. It's crazy.
How much do you like you're in 33 leagues? Do you differentiate your teams a lot? Do you try to stick with the same players, or how difficult is that?
Oh, it can be. At first, it was really hard. I found like so one thing we're kind of trying to wane off of is the ownership phrase. Like I own 5 shares of this person. We're trying to get away from that. It just doesn't sound the way we think. It's just not as updated saying you own someone.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. So I like to refer to it as like stocks. So I have a market share of I try to keep it at about 33% for each player. Like I try not to own a guy. See, there it is. I try not to have a guy on my teams more than 33% total, but I like to have variance. I don't like to have all my eggs in a basket. It works for some people where you have the same guys, and if it hits, like if you had like a Rodgers Devontae Adams stack in week 16 last year, or Josh Allen and Diggs, you probably won, right? Like because they went bananas, they went crazy. Great, all of your teams probably did well. But if that wouldn't have happened, all of your teams were screwed, and there's just not enough money in that method to me. And it is quite a bit about making money. Like I want to make money. I don't want to lose. That's that ROI, return on investment. I gotta have it. If not, the season's a failure. So I don't like to. I have favorite players that I try and get, or like, as you heard briefly, like we'll talk about a draft and where we're getting guys. If guys keep falling to a certain spot and I like it, I'll hit it every time. But I'm not actively trying to just build the same team. I think that kind of defeats the purpose of what we're doing.
No, for
but
sure.
I don't hate on people that have that strategy, because there are definitely people that do, and good for them. Hope it works. Yeah.
Well, and now you've been a part of Fantasy Intervention. How did you get into that?
It's completely by random, actually. So if you're into fantasy football, you can go to fantasyintervention.com. There's a lot of great articles and a lot of great videos. You can also go to our YouTube, which is Fantasy Intervention, And then you can follow us on Twitter at joinourcircle_. And we actually have recently launched a video game channel ourselves. So it would be, I believe that would be gaming circle _. And I got linked up with that through a very smart individual who you heard me talk to before we caught on, Jacob, who he's a real analytics driven guy. These guys are a lot about numbers, real accurate facts, and a lot of fun too. And Jacob's kind of with that, so he kind of got asked to be brought on one day after we post on Twitter. It's kind of how it works. You go on Twitter and you start typing fantasy football stuff, and eventually somebody notices, right? Like, there's a whole bunch of companies that just try to scoop up everyone. Like, if you see kind of somewhat think that you're smart, they're trying to find the next superstar all the time. So they're trying to scoop people up. And Fantasy Intervention was new, like a couple months old. And Jacob got brought on, and then I released a thread about the Ravens and Lamar Jackson ahead of the I can't remember if I think it was the week 17 of the season last year.
Okay.
I put a thread out, a bunch of videos that I got clipped. Shout out to Chris for clipping those up for me, teaching me how to do it. And I put it out and I was talking, and then I would mass tag people, and I know it annoyed them, but I wanted to get noticed. And one of the guys I tagged was Chase Vernon, who runs Fantasy Intervention. And so I tagged him. He kind of liked it. He asked Jacob what the deal was and if I'd be interested. And obviously I jumped on it right away. And I've been going ever since. They've been doing a really good job teaching me how to be a better writer, better content creator, and really giving me a lot of freedom to hop on microphones and do what I'm comfortable doing. So it's been really good, man. I have no complaints. See some people come and go that I like and respect, and but that's the nature of the business too. And just keep growing from there, and keep getting opportunities.
You mentioned creating content, and I mean, you were definitely an inspiration in me starting my podcast. I had questions for you before. Yeah, of course. Yep. How with creating the content, I mean, you're really putting yourself out there. I mean, you must enjoy it. Have you found, any problems with anything, issues you've encountered doing it, that you've had to rework things, or has it been pretty smooth sailing, just kind of learning as you go?
Well, my first toe dip into so to answer that quickly, like a short form, and I can go over it. Like, for fantasy football, it's everything you put out. Everything you put out is fine-tooth combed by everyone. It's like a weird, and it's great. I love that. I absolutely love it. But it is stress. Every tweet that I have to send out, I have to make sure my info, my data, everything is backtracked and logged, and I have to have like not an argument. I don't like argument, but I have to have like almost like I'm defending what I'm putting out ready.
Yeah.
Okay, if they go this way, I gotta have this way, and if you don't, you get eaten alive. So that's stressful. That is stressful, but I still just put it out anyway.
Okay.
Like, it's just I'm stubborn, so I just put it out anyway.
Oh, for sure.
But overall, yeah, big time. Like, the first thing I ever did before anything fantasy football, if I'm not mistaken. No, I think I did my Friday Night Lights show was the first thing I ever did. And that was just like a podcast for my own league. It's just like a fun thing. I got my guys to do it, and that's actually how we created Full Tilt. And that's how I got into Fantasy Intervention. Like, it just kind of happened that way. But when I did the hobby shop, some people weren't totally happy with some stuff I talked about in the wrestling world, but that's no different than anything else in the wrestling world. Someone's toes will feel stepped on no matter what. And actually, the first episode I ever did was with AJ Sanchez, someone who I didn't talk to a lot and didn't think super positively of, and I felt that it was mutual. So I said, you know what, screw it, we're gonna talk about it. And it
Mhm.
was kind of like a very like almost risque um thing, and it worked out. I mean,
Mhm.
it was great. I mean, now him and I are, you know, pretty cool. We talk he's actually in a fantasy football league with me now. I dragged him in. I dragged him into the dark side, and yeah, there's definitely kind of got sidetracked there. There's definitely a little bit of stress every time you put something out. Every time you
Mhm.
put a little bit of content out, there's always that thought like maybe it's not good enough. Maybe I should have done more.
Mhm.
Maybe yeah, like I put my first written article, official article out at fantasyinvention.com about Marquise Brown, and I put it out and I was like, I think I'm going to get ripped apart for this.
Mhm.
And I didn't. It was great, but then of course there's always people like, "Oh, this guy stinks. I can't believe you think this way," and blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
like that'll always be a thing. That'll always happen.
Mhm.
But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, I just don't worry about it, man. I mean,
Yeah.
people are gonna like it, people are not, and you just roll with it.
It's one thing, you can't please everyone. As long as you're doing something you like and enjoy, I mean, ultimately that's what matters.
Yes.
So,
Yep. That's 100% it. And
so
it has to be that way.
mhm. And I think it's very easy when you're putting yourself out there to get sort of to let the people with, a negative voice get you. But if
Mm,
you can kind of,
mm.
put it aside and not let it bug you, I mean, right then and there, you're a step ahead. So,
Oh yeah, my skin was thickened through the wrestling business for
mhm,
sure. Um, it has to, or you'll get chewed apart. You'll get eaten
mhm,
alive if you're not. And I've seen it. I've seen it. I've seen it manifest, and people that I know have quit and left and are just done with it after trying so hard to get where they got. And a
mhm.
lot of it was because of bull duty.
Oh,
So
for sure.
like it gets at this point, I'm not really worried about anything I'm putting out. I'm just putting it out there, and if it sticks, it sticks because I like it, and I think
Nice.
that's what's important.
So you yourself grew up in Winnipeg, I take it, or are you a transplant?
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Are you were born in Winnipeg, or did you
No,
move here?
no, gosh, no, absolutely not. I'm from Guelph, Ontario.
Okay. When did you
Yeah.
move here? When did you move to Winnipeg?
Oh gosh, I'm 32. I'm gonna sound really stupid if I get the math wrong. 22 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
So
still not home though. It'll never be
no.
home. No,
Mhm,
home is still Toronto and Guelph. It'll always be. I have a weird thing. Like I just can't call Winnipeg home. I just can't do it. Even
mhm,
though I was a kid and I should. I just can't.
mhm. I mean, that does explain why you are a Maple Leafs fan,
Oh yeah. Yep.
because I
Toronto
don't know.
everything.
I don't know many others. I myself am a Maple Leafs fan, but it seems like we're few and far between in Winnipeg. So,
No, 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 no. It's just people are afraid to mention it. That's all it is. There's tons of us out here. Like when you get like if you pre bullshit, you could go to a game and if the Leafs were in town, it was 80% Leafs in that arena.
Mhm.
It just people are afraid to admit they're a Leafs fan because they get hazed. Me, I was born in it.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
born in darkness. Like
I've
I know what it is.
I've accepted the shit that we get for being fans, and now
Yeah.
it rolls off your back. So,
Haters gonna hate.
now growing up, what sort of stuff were you into? I know you've mentioned football,
Oh man. Like my casual hobbies.
just casual stuff that kept you
Oh
busy
my
when you were
god.
younger.
Baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball was a big part of my life. The Blue Jays were good when I was young,
Hmm.
so it was easy to latch onto, and it stuck with me ever since. My brother really had me into like Dungeons and Dragons even as a kid, so like 6, 7, 8 years old. I was playing.
Hmm.
Um, Parental supervision wasn't really a thing for us, so that was we were big on that, and obviously
Hmm.
video games and stuff. Always,
Hmm.
always we always found a way to play, but that sports, wrestling, and games, man. Like that
Yeah.
was that's so sounds. So, oh, he's so uninteresting. Like, no, like that's just what caught me as a kid. And yeah, I can, you know, work on a car and I can do some other things, but my focus was like, yeah, I want to go home and I'm gonna watch Pokemon and play Zelda. Zelda's a
Mhm.
big thing for me.
Mhm.
Tattoos and other stuff that I have, Zelda related, but like the obvious ones like music,
Mhm.
video games, yeah.
Because
Dungeons and Dragons, Robotech. Oh my god.
huge into Robotech.
Oh my god. Even now, I think me and my brother were still talking about the impact some of those episodes.
Mhm.
My brother being Leo London, by the way. For anyone that doesn't know, yeah, we were still talking about how the impact of some of the things that happened in that show like shakes us now.
Mhm.
So we just like it must have been 2 days ago we talked about it. So yeah, it's still with us big time. That was a big thing for us. So Dungeons and Dragons, Robotech, X-Men,
Oh yeah.
Star Trek. Oh my god, Star Trek for sure, and
Mhm.
Star Wars. I love Star Wars too, but I might actually be more of a Star Trek fanatic than I am a Star Wars fanatic. But yeah, it was Bo. I went to a Star Trek convention as a kid.
Really?
Yeah,
Did
they
you
had one. It was amazing.
dressed up full Klingon or what?
I did not. No,
No.
no, no. That was not us. I was still the no, no. Needed to be able to keep both hands on me and not let me blend in too much, or I would have probably burnt the place down because I caused a lot of trouble for my folks.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I went to a convention when I was little. I used to build models. I remember building
Yeah.
models of who was it? I think it was Voyager and oh boy, come on, Tom, you can remember the Enterprise D and then a Romulan Warbird from Generations. Yeah, I remember building those as a kid,
Yeah.
very young. I remember being so into it that I wouldn't watch Spaceballs.
Really?
Like I wouldn't watch Spaceballs because it insulted Star Wars. Like that was
Mhm.
my thought process as a kid. Like I cried when it got put on. And then I watched it as an adult and I just thought, what was I doing? This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was that big a super nerd. But yeah, that's the stuff that's followed me and shaped us.
Mhm.
So
No, definitely.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
few of the big ones.
you mentioned wrestling, and I mean, I guess back then you were probably that's when the Attitude Era was probably alive and well when you were getting into it, or is that a little off?
I'm sorry, repeat that. That
When you
last bit?
when you first started getting into wrestling, that's probably when the
Yes.
Attitude Era was alive and
Yes.
kicking, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, for sure. Like I'm 32.
Mhm.
So I remember we'd watch the Monday Night War, and then Friday we'd watch ECW
Mhm.
because again, parental supervision wasn't a thing for us. So we would watch ECW after roller derby.
Yeah,
Was it
on
Roller
TNN.
Wars or Roller Derby?
Roller
Yeah.
derby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it was awesome.
Mhm.
And then we watch ECW, you know.
Mhm.
We'd watch Dub C Dub and then the WWF. And that was kind of our thing, man. Like The
Mhm.
Rock he's my favorite, man. He's number
Yeah.
one. So yeah, growing up, I throw my kicks like him. Still, I was told that, and I realized I do it completely by accident.
Mhm.
It's not even like a thing that I set out to do. It's just completely by accident that it just happened that way.
Mhm. So, The Rock was one of your favorites growing up. Who else
He's
did
the
you like
top
back
dog.
then? He's the
Oh man,
number
back
one?
then. Oh
Mhm.
man, back then. Oh boy. See, here's my thing. I don't remember a lot about the Attitude Era. I
Mhm.
remember seeing some really cool stuff, and I remember seeing some really stupid stuff.
Mhm.
So for like favorite wrestlers and stuff, like I was too young, really.
Mhm.
But I mean, Rob Van Dam, Tajiri, Ultimo,
Mhm.
uh, that's Ultimo Dragon.
Yep.
Um, Man, I used to love Steve Blackman when I was younger because he was legitimately terrifying.
He was a
Like same with
badass.
Shamrock. Yeah.
Mhm.
So those two I liked because they were just animals.
Mhm.
But my love for wrestling really kicked in after that. Like
Yeah.
I remember growing up on it and it was cool, but
Hmm.
it wasn't until like the 2000s that I was like engulfed in wrestling.
Okay.
So my memories of the Attitude Era is like The Rock.
Hmm.
And that's it. Like
That's it.
that's what I really loved at the time. And that might suck and it might push some wrestling fans like, who's this jackass? But nah, like honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the Attitude Era growing up.
Well, I think
I couldn't appreciate it either. I was too
I th-
young.
I think the Attitude Era, it kind of gets over glorified, like
Oh yeah.
it's
Oh yeah.
there was so much garbage back then, but I mean the
What's her
crowds
face
were
gave
hot.
birth to a hand? Like
Yeah,
like
Mae Young.
yo. Yeah. Like come on. No. Like you're gonna tell me everything was great? Nah.
Like
For
there.
every Austin and The Rock segment that went well, and they weren't all good. They definitely force fed you those guys
Hmm.
constantly.
Hmm.
When SmackDown became a thing, that was a time I was locked in at that point.
When you had like the SmackDown 6, I think it was, with Jericho and Benoit and Edge and those guys over there putting on great matches week in and week out.
Oh yeah, Edge
It,
and Edge and Christian, and yeah, those that was the time for me. Like the Hardy Boys, even in the Attitude Era, those were guys when they came back, dude. I got goosebumps. Like as still an adult, I was
Mhm.
just chills. I was freaking out watching when they came back a couple of
I-
years ago.
Yeah, no, I think even to this day there could be still a big debut or a return or something, and I'll still get just as excited as I would have back then. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, I definitely get that feeling sometimes too.
mhm. So you mentioned baseball. Did you
Mhm.
play it as well, or are
Yep.
you just yeah?
Yeah. Well, not when I was a kid. Like as a kid, uh, no.
No.
But when I got here, it became a thing for me.
Hmm.
So I played not as long as I wanted to, because I got started a little late with it.
Hmm.
But and I play today. Like I still play.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then I learned from actually your podcast with AJ Sanchez that you used to play
Oh
football as well.
yes, yeah. 7 or 8 years I played.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what team did you play for?
I played for the St. James Rods.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Now, I
I forget
actually,
what that stands for. Respect, opportunity, discipline, and sportsmanship. I think it's the worst team name in the history of team names.
I played only 1 year, but it was for the Fort Garry Lions.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So I
Love
remember the
beating up on
Rods
them.
have, oh, stop it. I remember the Rods had a solid team, so that was
There's a
one
while
thing.
where we did. Yeah, we had. Well, the thing was, so at the major level, which is the junior level, 18 to 22 now, I think, we
Mhm.
had an entire Oak Park graduating class that was a part
Okay.
of the Oak Park High School three-peat for championships,
Okay.
and they just all went to the Rods.
Hmm.
And that's when I happened to be there. So we were playing with like already the best players that didn't seek out university. So we already had them all from Oak Park. So he just rolled for an extra 2 or some years until some of those guys aged out. So I think the Rods won 4 out of 6 championships at the major level. And I was lucky
I,
enough to be a part of 2 of them.
I had completely forgot about Oak Park's little run there that they had
The
because
three-peat, yeah.
I used to play touch football, and one of the guys on our team, he was a quarterback for Oak Park. He ended up going to play for the University of Calgary Dinos, but that
Hmm.
just it rang a bell after you mentioned it.
Yeah. St. Paul's is usually the one that gets the most hype, but yeah, Oak Park destroyed. I
Hmm.
think it's the Raiders, the Oak Park Raiders. Yeah, they crushed for a
What
while.
what position did you play when you were in football?
All of them. Yeah. There's
Just
one,
a
yeah.
jack of all trades.
Yeah, like more like so I played running back,
Hmm.
but I kind of was everywhere. Like I
Hmm.
tried to learn everything. I wasn't great. I was like moderately average to okay,
Hmm.
but I tried to play everything. But I mostly played running back and
Yeah.
returner. Big special teams guy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That was. I always enjoyed special teams. I liked it more than the regular because like I was on, the kickoff team and stuff like that, and I loved
Oh yeah.
trooping it down the field trying to get the tackle. Like
See,
you
I
got to
didn't
rush
because
hard.
I was small and I got lit up constantly because they try to find me and look for me. But there are a couple of plays I really like some of my favorite plays I remember were from special teams. So
Hmm.
it was a pretty cool thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I played left tackle, and I think I was the smallest guy on the O line. So
That's not fun.
no, not at all.
Yeah, no,
just get
that's a lot of bumps and bruises when you get with the big hog mollies for sure.
just just get trucked.
Yeah.
So now you played, I think you said 7 or 8 years
Something like
football.
that. Yeah.
Did you have any regrets from playing
Yeah.
football? Yeah,
Yeah, not starting earlier.
yeah.
I started a little late in the cycle, and by that time, especially when you're in one program, right? Like I kind of wish I went and played for other programs and different coaches because you
Hmm.
kind of get fed through the same system and they have their favorites. I mean, some of these
Hmm.
coaches have known these kids for 7, 8 years, right? Because they're coming up through Bantam and Pee Wee and I don't know what they call it now, but midget football. Um, I don't know what it's called now because I don't think that's an appropriate term. So I apologize.
Hmm.
But and then all the way up through the major. So it's a lot of them have favorites. So I though was more talented than my reps dictated.
Hmm.
I just kind of got the reps that I got and I went with it. And when I got my opportunities, I did the best I could. That's probably
Hmm.
my biggest regret. And then also not, and it's the same thing with wrestling too, not living in the moment that you're doing it because I can never play again. And
Hmm.
that's the most crushing thing is when it's done, it's done.
Hmm.
Football is not a sport where they have full contact rec leagues. When it's done, you're done.
Yeah.
And I think that I took that for granted, and I wish that I didn't, because it was some of the greatest moments of my life. Regardless of the injuries, I would do it again.
Hmm. No, definitely. I mean, I played only 1 year, and I wish I would have played more. And it's something that I look back on, and it's easily a regret.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
you mentioned injuries. How many did you end up going through? Or what was the worst if
Too
you went through
many.
a lot?
Paralysis.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was paralyzed for a while.
Ouch.
Yeah, the right side of my body. I put my neck down when I shouldn't have. Because
Hmm.
back then, coaches used to tell you to use your helmet as a weapon. So I
Hmm.
tried to do that, and yeah, it did not go well for me. So that's not
That's
great,
not
Bob.
good. No,
No.
not at all.
Yeah, that was the worst one. I had big shoulder problems, lots of shoulder problems, a lot of head problems,
Hmm.
a couple extra whacks to the dome piece. But yeah, the nerve damage one and everything, that's obviously still felt to this day.
Hmm.
But that was the worst one. But yeah, my knees took a beating. Like it
Hmm.
just happens. Like you're young. It's not like and so like if let's say I got concussed or like I dislocated a finger, which had happened, um, it's like I'm not gonna tell my coaches, I'm just gonna deal with it. Like, I
Yeah.
just taped that finger up. Like I'm not
Hmm.
gonna come out. And then of course you tape that finger up, now it doesn't grow properly. Now my finger's half crooked.
Hmm.
But like you're a kid, you don't want to come out. Someone else is going to get your rep, and it's
Hmm.
competitive that way, and it's toxic competitive in that way, which is
Hmm.
not good. You don't want kids to, have their head wrung and just keep going out there like I did. You don't want that. Luckily, they're better with that now and
Yeah.
spotting it. But not
Hmm.
back then. It was like, yeah, well, shake it off or sit down. Like that was it. Those were your options.
Hmm. And I mean, as a player, you want it to be out there. You want it to be a part of it. It's a team, and I mean, like you said, if you go out, then there's going to be someone who's going to be in there taking your spot,
Yep.
not taking your spot, but given the
Oh, they
chance, given
would.
the
No, that's
opportunity.
exactly what it is. They would definitely take your spot, and every single
Hmm.
player when you were on the field wanted your spot.
Hmm.
And there's 42 kids and there's only 12 spots on the field at a time. So
Hmm.
figure it out.
And I mean, and it sucks when you get taken off. Even, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, being on, kickoff team, I love that. And like going into the playoffs, I got taken off, even though like I was doing everything that I needed to be done. And then they wanted someone else in there, and you're just like, shit, it's almost heartbreaking.
What am I not doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But I mean, you're taught it's a team game. It's a team game. It's a
mhm.
team game. So if you're with it, like that's cool. But yeah, it's definitely a place where egos can get crushed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So now, how did you first become a wrestler?
uh Man, so there's varying stories about that. So believe it or not, before David London was a thing, I tried to backdoor my way in years before that
Okay.
with a company. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called now. It used to be run by Wayne Stanton. I think. Oh, is it River City Wrestling?
Okay.
I can't remember for that. I can't remember if it's RCW. Like I can't remember. Red River.
There was a River
What
City
is it
Wrestling, if I'm
called?
not mistaken.
It might have been River City Wrestling. I don't want to say RCW because there's one in Alberta, but that's not the one.
Mhm.
But I think it was River City Wrestling at the Ellis Theater was where these
Okay.
shows were being taken place. And the first show I ever did was actually at oh God, Block Party, Morden. It was the Morden Block Party was like the first show I ever did. And it was
Okay.
horrific. Like not trained, just showed up. My brother actually dragged me out. Uh, you know, had a horrific match with if you want to call it that. What the heck was his name? Oh no. Oh God. They used to call him Ricky Cena, and my brother was horrible. It was
Yeah.
awful, but it was so much fun.
Oh, I
And
bet.
then yeah, I kept doing it for there, and then I don't know, I just kind of stopped. Like I wrestled my brother. Wasn't the worst thing ever.
Mhm.
Actually, it probably was dating back. And then um yeah, just stopped. Me and my brother had a falling out, so I just stopped, and I never went to like an official training ever. I
Mhm.
just he just literally showed me like a handful of things, and we went out there and did those things,
Mhm.
scripted the way we needed it to, and
Okay.
like I said, it's horrific probably, but yeah, that was a little known gimmick I did called Tom Lockley,
Okay.
which was a thing. Yeah, Jordan Apon's worst nightmare. He hated it. Yeah, poor guy. Had to photograph that, but yeah, that was my gimmick. I came out in tearaway pants and ripped them off and thought I was just the coolest thing. But then after that, I took it a little more seriously, like
Mhm.
a lot more seriously. And we'd go to the training room 4 or 5 days a week for 4 or 5 hours at a time at Easy Riders place, which is a small
Okay.
ring, it's 10 by 10, no spring in it.
Mhm.
It's just a boxing ring, honestly. So stiff ropes, no spring, and that's where I took all my bumps and
Mhm.
learned some stuff. And then after that, I worked up the courage to go with Adam Knight at the what is it, like a meat packing plant or something where a ring was set up.
Okay.
And yeah, I started getting my training with Adam Knight and Jay Walker
Mhm.
and my brother. And I wish I could remember the other guy's name, but I can't. Marty, I think his name is. He was a worker. Yeah.
Okay.
So not Marty Gold.
No.
It's another guy named Marty who was a worker and for PCW, and yeah, those were my first things. And I worked with Rob Stardom
Mhm.
first at that point um, at SPW while my brother was at PCW, just
Okay.
to kind of slowly feel my way around and figure it out and get that tough skin, because boy did I rub people the wrong way there. And then just kind of grew from there. And then Andrew gave me a shot, and I've been there ever since.
Mhm. Well, I mean,
Just completely by accident.
my next question was actually going to be who trained you, but your brother had a
That'd be
big
my brother.
influence on
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, and Adam and Scorpio. Honestly,
Yeah.
they were at trainings. And everybody, like that's another big thing with everybody. I
Mhm.
mean, I took something from everyone when I talked to them, when they would give me the time of day and really want to work with me. Um, yeah, I learned a little bit from everyone, but it was my brother. Like pretty obviously, if you watch us work, it's quite
Mhm.
quite clear how much we feed off one another.
Oh, for sure.
And then yeah, outlaw for sure, all the way.
Mhm. No, no, definitely. Now, The first time you stepped into the ring, I mean, you mentioned
Mhm.
when it was. What were you feeling? I mean, were you scared shitless? Were you jacked up?
No, I was
Like,
too arrogant.
yeah.
No, I wasn't scared. I was arrogant.
Okay.
I should have been scared. I get
Mhm.
butterflies now for every match, every segment. But then, like working at like the Wayne Stanton thing, like the crowds weren't big.
Mhm.
It was like 10 people. It was just like a thing I was doing. I
Mhm.
didn't take it seriously at all.
Okay.
So I wasn't nervous. I wasn't whatever. I was like, I thought it was the coolest thing on earth.
Mhm.
Not in great shape and just kind of going out there and making a fool of myself, and then snipping back at people that would say something, right?
Mhm.
Because especially now, you see a guy come in like that. Now, say if you're in like my shoes and you're like, fuck this guy, like whatever. That's how everyone felt about me,
Yeah.
and I just basically flipped everyone the double bird, which you're not supposed to do, and did my own thing because that's how I am.
Yeah.
So I don't remember what it's like or what I was thinking, what I was feeling. I remember that I was, you know, it felt like it was the coolest thing. Like that
Mhm.
I remember. It was the coolest thing. Like I felt so hype, just jacked up.
Yeah.
Probably more jacked up than I feel after a match now. I remember that. That was pretty
Mhm.
cool, but
Oh, nice.
I wish I took it more seriously at the
Yeah.
time.
Is that a regret that you have?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not so it's not a regret in the sense that I've gotten to do some really cool shit
Mhm.
in the ring. So obviously something was done right, but I just wish that maybe everyone wouldn't think that I was kind of a troublemaker if I would have done things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Fair enough. Now, when you did start to, I mean, after that first run where, you didn't take it seriously and then you kind of started to afterwards, did you have support from friends and family? I mean, obviously your brother was supporting you. What was other people's reaction to that?
Thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother who was a big deal for me, parents not really being around much.
Hmm.
She didn't know what to think. Like she came to a few. She was like, I don't get it. It's
Hmm.
like she would be the person that did it, like in the crowd we were doing it, but she would like be there anyway.
Hmm.
But like yeah, people really care that much. Like now people think it's interesting and want to hear about it sometimes. And like I have friends that are into it that come to shows and whatever. But
Hmm.
it's a weird thing when people just say you either love it or don't get it. So like my foster parents or whatever were pretty cool about it, very interested. But yeah, I wouldn't say supportive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you were training for football, obviously that's a complete different game. What were the differences, when you decided to start training for wrestling, Because I mean, obviously your cardio is going to be night and day difference.
That's not comparable.
No?
There's nothing. There's nothing that will. And I honestly, to this day, don't really know if I've ever run through a proper training
Okay.
seminar in wrestling. Like Knight worked me over to make sure that I wouldn't leave. He actually made me throw up my first day. Like he hit like Adam Knight's a big guy. I think
Hmm.
the last time I talked to him, he's 285 or no, that's light. 298 or something, and he's 6'5", 6'6", I think.
Hmm.
And he hit me with enough elbow drops in a row right in the sternum. I laid him in that I just threw up.
Hmm.
And he looked at me and knew I had to do it. And he goes, "One more, kid." And I went, "Yes, sir." And I just nodded because I knew if I opened my mouth, I was vomiting. So
Yeah.
he hit me with the last one, and I'm like looking at him like bug eyed. And he goes, "All right, you can go." And I rolled out and I threw up. And after that, it was cool. Like he took care of me. He's Papa Bear. But yeah, I
Hmm.
don't even think now that I've really run through a true. I want to. I really do. Everything
Hmm.
shut down and everything. I was gonna actually start going with AJ, but when everything kind of um blew up with the whole COVID sitch, I
Yeah.
put that on ice
Hmm.
because I wasn't with that. And then yeah, so maybe hopefully when things get fired up again, I'll put myself through the real ringer.
Yeah.
I think everyone needs it at all times, and yeah, I'll be really looking forward to it. But uh, comparing that to any other kind of training, there's no such thing.
Hmm.
You can run 10 miles. You get in that ring, you're going to be tired right away.
Hmm.
It's a different kind. every part of your body has to be working in a certain way, and it's all the muscle groups that you never think of.
Mhm.
You know, it's nothing like anything else I've ever been through physically.
That definitely says something because I know you work out regularly, or
Mhm.
and then I mean, when you play football, if you played hockey, baseball, practices, I mean, they're not easy, so you do get work through the ringer. So that definitely says
Oh yeah.
something.
Oh, I remember running 2-a-days at football, 2 practices and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So yeah, it's grueling, but it's a different kind of grueling. And it's a different kind of
Yeah.
mental strain too in wrestling because there's so much to think about.
Hmm.
You're performing physically, you're performing emotionally, you're a different person.
Hmm.
Like I don't know how it is for most people, but the second I walk through the curtain or out the door, I'm a different human being than I am back there.
Hmm.
Like I'm completely different. Especially like I'm a nice guy, but I've played the role of a bad guy for almost 7 years straight.
Hmm.
So like it takes a different thing. You got to remember what you're saying, remember what you're doing so you don't get hurt, so other people don't get hurt. And then you have to be doing it in a way that people want to watch and come back and get in. Like it's a lot, man.
Hmm.
There's no way to train for it except for doing it, doing it, and doing it. It's a repetition based thing, which is what makes right now so hard on so many people.
Hmm. How's it been for you? Like, have you been able to deal, I mean, with how COVID has been? I mean, like,
Oh, it has
life's
not
been different
affected
for
me at
everyone,
all.
so
Aside
no?
from not being able to go to the gym for a really long time, I built
Hmm.
one in my house, but it's still
Hmm.
not the same. So I've put on
Yeah.
a lot of the weight that I tried to keep off, but that is what it is. You
Hmm.
back at it. I'm started training again.
Hmm.
But other than that, yeah, it doesn't affect me at all. I don't. I'm not a party guy. I'm not a the thing that messed with me is not having people over to watch football.
Hmm.
Like that was the big thing for me. But other than that, I miss seeing my friends. I miss seeing I miss going to shows. I miss seeing fans. Interacting with people like yourself and
Hmm.
everyone else. There's a group of people that you used to see when you would go. That's what makes these communities awesome.
Hmm.
I'd stand at the door, at the end of the show and make sure I spent time with every single one, every single person that wanted a minute or a handshake or an autograph or, anything like that. I would just make sure to spend that time with them. Doesn't matter if I was bleeding, something was broken or dislocated. I would, every time I was out there, um, spending the time with those people, and
Hmm.
that sucks. And I miss seeing my friends in the business itself.
Oh, for
Shank
sure.
and Cole and Dylan and all those guys. I miss them all, and you know it sucks, but it is what it is. Other than that,
Hmm.
like for everyday civilian life, I've worked the whole time.
Hmm.
Um, it just is what it is. I mean, I don't go out, I don't party, I don't. I'm a homebody, so for me, no, it hasn't really affected me at all. Hopefully, you've been able to keep it up and together. I know I have a couple of friends of mine that are kind of getting over it at this point. They're
Hmm.
pretty over it, and I'm there for them. But for me, I'm cool with it. It's good for me. I save money this way, and I get to focus on some of the stuff that I love doing. So yeah, it's cool with me.
Like, I'm a homebody as it is, so I mean,
Yeah,
for me, it's like, yeah, I don't mind staying home and watching a movie or taking it easy. I don't
I,
like partying, so.
I think it's the socialites, like the people that need that in their life, that it really affected the most.
Hmm. So we've talked about your brother, the influence that he's had on you.
Hmm.
How did you guys first decide to become a tag team? How did that get going?
It was always going to be that way. When
Yeah.
we were kids, that's how it was. That's how we envisioned it. As kids, we talked about being tag team champions in the WWF.
Hmm.
That's how it was. Like we always, always, always loved tag team wrestling. Everything about it. So that was our influence. And then when he moved here, he kind of started dabbling first, and that's when I followed. And then when we got to SPW, we were like, this is what we are. We
Hmm.
were like, well, I kind of was like, this is what we are. And again, we got a negative vibe for that, but we knew what we wanted to do.
Hmm.
And I, oh man, you get shit on. But I've turned down bookings before just because they weren't a tag team booking. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't going to work without my brother, and I know he does. Like he does a lot of solo booking and stuff. But for me, yeah, that's not what I'm into. That's not what I want to do. I've
Hmm.
worked singles matches and stuff, but it's not what I prefer. It's not what I love.
Mm-hmm.
You tell there's more story to tell with 4 people than with 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at it. And growing up as a kid, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and were 2 obvious influences. But yeah, like Benjamin and Haas, and like always the tag teams, man, for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And I
Brothers
mean,
of Destruction and Hurricane and Rosie. Like it was just
yeah,
that's what I wanted, man. Rock and
and
Sock, like that
you
was my
can't go
shit.
wrong with the Rock and Sock connection.
No, like that
No.
was, yeah. So it's always tag team. So
Mm-hmm.
luckily uh Andrew Shawcross has been amazing, letting me and my brother carry on as a tag team this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only laid hands on my brother at PCW one time only.
And that's it.
Yeah, and it threw people for a loop, and we didn't get to really run with that. But I mean, maybe one day we will. Who knows? But probably not.
No,
I
I
mean, me and
mean,
my brother plan to, tag team or die. That's how we've rolled.
I know like sometimes that, people want, to see the tag team split up and have
I
them
hate
go
it.
at it,
I
and
hate it.
I like when teams don't do that, because it's
I
different.
hate it.
So,
It makes me so angry. They split it, like, and I'm talking like the big company, right?
mhm,
They split every freaking successful tag team they have up,
mhm,
and I loved Enzo and Cass
yeah,
before they turned out to be dirtbags,
yeah,
and then they split them up, and I didn't care. I immediately didn't care.
mhm,
Benjamin and Haas. Okay, I get, yeah, but yeah, I didn't care as much. Like, I hate when they split up tag
mhm,
teams. I mean, oh gosh, DIY. Yeah, I don't care now. Champa and Gargano are great, but I don't. I want to see them tag team wrestle. If
yeah.
they ever break up Undisputed Era, I'm out. Like,
Well,
GG's. Have a good day. See you later. But I'm out. I want to see tag teams.
if they break up,
The Viking Raiders, or whatever they're calling them now, loved them.
okay, yeah, the
You know,
Viking Experience or whatever they
whatever they're
changed it
called now.
to, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Like I love those teams. War Games was awesome,
mhm,
awesome in NXT. One of the few things I've actually watched
yeah,
with current wrestling, right? But if they ever get rid of it, I don't know. I'm gonna be in trouble.
mhm,
It's not the cool thing. Tag team wrestling's
no,
not the cool thing.
it,
It's not the in thing with, people want to see the big heavyweight champ, and but I was always about the tag team.
mhm.
I've turned down opportunities to wear heavyweight titles, like to be
Really,
the guy. Yeah, I turned it down
I did
because I
not know
wanted to
that.
wrestle tag team. Yeah, no one does because they don't expect that. And yeah, it was for a company that isn't super. Fuck it, I'll just say it. It's not super respected, so it wasn't something I really wanted to A, attach myself to, and B, I just didn't want to do it because, like I
Mhm.
said, it's tag team or die.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you got to stand up for what you believe in, and I mean, I see
That's a
nothing wrong
big thing for me. Well, I mean, within the business, I see a big problem with that.
with that.
There's a big problem with that. You speak your mind when you're not supposed to.
Mhm.
I've got a reputation for being difficult to work with, being an asshole, disrespectful. I'm not those things. I'm just, not with the patriarchy of it all. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
down with that. I'm there to do what I love doing and do it with the people I love doing, and show respect where it's given and that kind of thing. I'm a little different now. I'm not abrasive now, but I was abrasive then, and that's how the AJ thing came to be, right?
Mhm.
So me and AJ didn't get along, didn't whatever, and then we actually sat down and talked, and it's all good. And that's how most people are with me.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, if you speak up a little bit too much or a little bit too early, yeah, you can build a reputation, I guess. That's a
Yeah.
side tangent, but
Yeah. Now, I mean, with what you've just mentioned, I mean, wrestling for PCW, I've
mhm,
noticed it. It is really like a family there, like
it can
with
be.
a lot of the wrestlers, like you, your brother, I mean, Jay Walker.
hmm hmm
I mean, I saw like you guys setting up rings and stuff like that, doing
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. So I mean,
still do.
it's really noticeable. So I was shocked when I saw that. I was waiting in line for one of the shows and I saw you walking past back and forth setting it up, and I was like, it's
That's how
I
it
never
is.
knew that. So
Um, like, there's this whole thing about who should set up the ring, and it's like, well, the rookie should be out there. I'm not going to go do it. I'm a vet, and it's cool if you think that way. I'm not trying to cause a stir in the fact that vets don't set up the rings. I get it. You've been there. You've done that. You've done tours. You've set up the ring 3 times a day in uphill in cold weather. I get it. It's cool. Don't do it. You don't have to do it, but don't shit on the guys doing it, for one. And then
Mhm.
B, I was on tour with Jimmy Hart, and he set up the ring.
Mhm.
And I went up to him and I was like, Jimmy, like, you don't got to do that. Like my brother and I, and he was like, it's all good, baby. It's what I want to do.
Mhm.
Just said it like that. Just cool as shit. Just
Mhm.
cool as shit. Carrying a metal beam. Jimmy
Mhm.
Hart, Hall of Famer, you know, one of the greatest managers of all time, the man
Mhm.
himself. Oh, good, baby. It's cool. It's what I want to do.
That
All
should
right,
speak.
man. You're good.
That
I
should
will
speak
set up
volumes.
rings now for the rest of my life, and
Yeah.
I am the first one at shows.
Mhm.
It is very rare that somebody beats me there. If it's not
Mhm.
something that in life that has interfered, I am the first one there. I am there at 4. So say we have a show that kicks off at 9, I'm there at 3:30.
Okay.
And I'm the first one to start moving stuff around and get it ready. Andrew
Mhm.
knows that. You know, he counts on me for that. I text him, "Hey, we need this. Hey, we need that. Hey, while you're out, get that." He relies on me for that.
Mhm.
And I take it as like a badge of honor, you know.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, it's important. And I think the idea of shitting on the people that do it is wrong,
Uh,
personally.
Having someone like Jimmy Hart, who's a legend in the business, if he's
Yep.
out there setting up the ring, I mean, like,
Everyone can.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're not Jimmy. So
So,
yeah.
no, for sure. So I mean, you have wrestled in different provinces, different
hmm
cities.
hmm
What was that like?
Completely different.
Yeah.
You know, so I always felt like it was kind of like a place to try new things.
Mhm.
Like, and maybe that's not the best way to look at it, but like I would do stuff at other shows that I wouldn't do at PCW, because in PCW you're shtick, you are who you are. You know, you have your gimmick and everything. But a lot of the stuff, like say even with the Gentlemen's Club or before that, we would always try different stuff with the London Dynasty. I don't know how many people caught it, but we would like change attitudes and change styles all the time. And it was usually after we went somewhere else.
Mhm.
We would try it out at other on tours or whatever, which I didn't get to do a lot of. I wish I could have done more, but I was thankful for the ones I got to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, you just try different stuff, and it's different crowds. And I remember one time, like I had I've you know, I had done it long enough. I went to HIW and I was nervous as shit. I came out of that curtain flat, just completely flat, no energy, which is the exact opposite of how I am. Like it was like an outer body experience. So it
Mhm.
was really weird. But
And
it can be cool. But yeah, it was terrifying. Or meanwhile, we went to CWC in Alberta, and it was just like all energy the whole time. Like it was just, I felt like a different person
mhm.
than I am at PCW. It's a different experience, but it was really cool. The coolest thing was, you know, getting to know new people. We met new friends, and
For
we
sure.
got to tour with. I wish I could remember what his name is. Oh no, why am I blanking on who that is? Oh no. Oh man. He was in the Navy. Oh, what the heck was his name? He was in TNA.
Oh,
Oh,
Jesse Neal.
yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I was seriously blanking there. We did a tour with him. Coolest
Mhm.
guy.
Yeah.
He's like me and my brother, we went to I think it was RCW we did that with. And the ring was set up. We showed up. We started warming up. Me and my brother, when we warm up, we chain wrestle.
Mhm.
Like 45 minutes straight. No stopping and trying not to repeat stuff. And he just sat in the corner. And
Mhm.
no one else gave a shit. They were just like, oh, the Londons are doing their thing again. No one else cared. Because everyone knows that's what we're gonna do. We're like the only
Mhm.
ones that are gonna do it, and my brother especially. I don't really dabble in it like he does, but he loves it. So we're warming up and whatever. And he was like into it. Like, he was asking us questions. Like he approached us, "Hey, you doing that? Like, could you do this?" Like it was really cool. We actually, and that led to us working with him, and that
Okay.
wouldn't have happened, you know, at PCW. So it was just an
Mhm.
opportunity that we got just by being ourselves and doing our thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, Jesse Neal was one of those random happenstances, working somewhere else that just we just soaked up. It was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So I mean, wrestling for PCW, it's definitely like, like you said before, you enjoy seeing the fans there.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of the same people there, but it's a good group of people there who go to watch. So I mean,
It can
it's
be.
yeah, there's always the
I mean, I got
uh,
called a pedophile for 2 years.
oh, okay,
Yep. No reason. No reason.
yeah,
It's just how they broke in the new guys at the time.
oh,
But
by
it didn't matter. It didn't matter, what promo I was cutting, what match I was shitting the bed in, because realistically, let's be honest. But yeah, I got called a pedophile. So I actually just shaved a mustache. Like I just kind of ran with it, and like that kind of like, I was accepted. But it was a lot different. You don't see that now.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's how it was.
That was when you were first starting off.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I think 7-8 years ago. Very different time, very different communities.
yeah, no, for
Now,
sure. I
yeah,
mean, things must have changed then since when you started performing then as to now then.
big time. Yeah,
So I mean, things that were, I don't want to say acceptable, but things that were done now, it's just
things
like
that were accepted.
that's a better way to say it.
Hmm.
Now
Hmm.
it's like if I go to a show, I don't want to hear bullshit chants, or not the chant bullshit, but like
I
people
understand what you're
ragging
saying.
on for offensive stuff.
Oh
Because
yeah, and there
there's no
are
place
people
for
that
that.
do it. Yeah, and
Yeah.
mostly the crowd polices themselves, which I think is hilarious.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of kinds, right?
Hmm.
And it's still a show, and it's still there have been times where it's hard to be professional,
Hmm.
right? Where I've wanted to just crawl through and just kick someone in their teeth,
Hmm.
but you can't. So you just roll with it and you let it. And that's what I mean. Like your skin gets real thick. So
Hmm.
you just kind of take it as it is.
Definitely. Uh, Now, one of my all-time favorite moments in PCW
Mhm.
was the My Chemical Romance
Yes.
entrance.
Yes. We get
How
that a lot.
how did that all come to be? Because as soon as that music hit, I was just like sitting on the edge of my seat. I was jacked up
Hmm.
from that, and I had the biggest grin on my face. I loved it.
Yeah.
So,
By accident, really. So it starts with Vanna. It
okay.
starts with that whole thing. Um, the whole Gentleman's Club gimmick was not meant to be. I'm gonna mess this up and people are gonna get mad. Like an LGBTQ storyline.
Hmm.
It wasn't meant to be that way, but it kind of turned out that way. Like we're best friends, all of us, right?
Yeah.
So then we just kept getting called gay. Like by it seemed to be like the thing that our opponents would call us or fans or whatever. So then it just kind of became this thing about, you know, we were both dating Alex Vanna. Like it just kind of became the gimmick for no reason. And a lot of it wasn't even caught by fans. It would just be us trying to pop each other. Like that's,
Hmm.
you know, there's one instance where we do the thumb up the butt gimmick that we do,
Yeah.
and then we got beat by Will Damon and Playboy Will Damon, PCW legend, and Bobby Shink because they stopped it and they shoved the finger down my mouth instead of theirs, and I was just trying to make my brother laugh, and I went, "Oh, it tastes just like Vanna's dick." I don't know why I said it, but like it
Yeah.
came to mind, and like it popped everyone in the room because it's a double joke,
Hmm.
and because that finger was up my brother's butt, so it's like, A, why would I know what it's like, and B, why would it? So it that kind of caught some attention, both good and bad, but like this is good fun, and then it just became that, like people would say like you know the fans, right? So they'd go like, "Oh, your girlfriends, whatever, think you're losers or whatever," and then my brother would just turn and go, "Yeah, well, we don't need them. We got Alex Vanna." So like it just became this whole thing, and our whole gimmick became based on our friendship.
Hmm.
And there are pictures of where it like you can genuinely see it when we look at one another. We're best friends.
Hmm.
So when Vanna turned on us, we had to, and that was probably the coolest thing because people really felt it. Like
Hmm.
you could feel it in the crowd. Like people felt an emotional response from Vanna breaking up with us. It was
Hmm.
the weirdest most interesting thing I've ever experienced in wrestling. That's doesn't matter working Kenny Omega with Corino with Colt Cabana, didn't matter. That moment was the most intense moment I've ever experienced in the ring because
Hmm.
people wanted that story, and we
Hmm.
didn't know that. We didn't know that it was becoming a th- um, a key part to people's viewing experience, and I don't think Andrew did either. We didn't really know. So when we split up, me and my brother were kind of like, well, what can we do to hit home the fact that we're sad that we've been broken up with? And we're My Chemical Romance fans anyway.
Hmm.
So I think it was my brother was like, why don't we do the song? And I think I was like, well, if we do the song, we should do the whole thing. So I started looking online for the jackets, and we're like, okay, this could work. And he got the makeup, and I was like, okay, this is really gonna work. Then we went to the mall the day of the show, I think, day or the day before the show, and we picked out like he wanted to do the one album, with the black suit and the red tie, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool. And we've got the Black Parade stuff. I'll do the other one. So that's why I have the striped shirt and the black and white tape and everything, because that's from the other album. So we're like, we'll get it all covered. Also, wrestling in those tight jeans is not fun. I actually had to rip them more because I was heavier at the time. Very
Mm.
hard to move in. Um, and then yeah, it just came together. And honestly, we were doubted. We got doubted. Andrew didn't think it was going to work. He's like, you guys
Mhm.
have never done this before. This is out of nowhere. Like, I don't think they're going to know what it is. But again, he was really cool, and he went, but you believe it, go for it. And he
Mhm.
gave us the keys to keys to the kingdom for it. And yeah, when that music hit, dude, it was like a different vibe,
Mhm.
a different thing. And when we walked through that curtain and the place went batshit crazy,
Oh yeah.
it was one of the loudest pops I've ever heard in that building.
Mhm.
And they went batshit nuts, and they got it.
Mhm.
They understood the emotional part of the story. And when Vanna came out after, just the whole contrast of it is pretty amazing. But it all stemmed from a joke. It stemmed from a joke that Vanna, my brother, and I laughed at breakfast one day, like the day after a show.
Mhm.
We would always go to and have breakfast together, the boys, like we call it like we have our own group. We all came up together, like the Jaywalker, Jackie, Vanna,
Mhm.
myself, my brother, Scott, all that would all hang out more than we would like go to bars and stuff because none of us are drinkers. So we'd go to like
Mhm.
Ken's restaurant after shows, and then the next day we would get together for breakfast because that's when we saw each other. So we just made a joke like, "Hey, we should do this," and then the whole gentleman's club gimmick was by accident.
Mhm.
Like we didn't even want to be put in a stable together, whatever. It just came together, and then the relationship between me, my brother, and Vanna just started to develop as a story, and we ran with it, and that led to the MyChem thing, which is
Mhm.
kind of around to stay now. I
Mhm.
think. I think if we don't do it, people would be sad.
I'm glad you mentioned the storyline with Alex Vanna because I mean I wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to do it justice even reeling a question about it. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that you brought it up because I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was my brainchild at first.
Mhm.
Like Andrew wanted to put Vanna with us. My brother wasn't into it. Vanna wasn't into it. I kind of got them on board, and then it developed. And for a while, the Gentlemen's Club was the thing at PCW.
Mhm.
Like we were the main event, really. We were in 4 or 5 segments a night sometimes. It grew with Jackie and Scorp, and then the whole story, and then turning, and then the double turns, and then the crazy matches with Sweet and Tasty, and
Mhm.
it really was my favorite part of wrestling so far, I think.
Nice.
Yeah. And then of course the added, we I got messages, my brother did, about people that, you know, um my brother's pretty openly part of that community.
Mhm.
Um I am not, but I was still cool doing it. I didn't care. It didn't
Mhm.
bother me any, and we got messages, even myself, about how people thanked us, supported what we were doing, and
Mhm.
they were cool with they were just happy that people were open about it, and it gave them a story to latch on to. And so that was a whole cool another like thing that I never was expecting,
Mhm.
was people from that community, fans from that community, and not just at PCW shows. Like we got people from like other countries sending us
Mhm.
messages about it and stuff. So it was pretty wild that
Mhm.
it was that big, and then it all came together with that entrance, and pretty cool.
That it was definitely one of my favorite moments, going to live wrestling shows. So I mean,
Thanks, man.
it was great. So you've mentioned a little bit about, like having a thick skin, and I know
Mm-hmm.
we've talked before, because you have been, in matches with, Kenny Omega and,
Oh yeah.
Carino and, guys like that. How do you
I didn't
deal?
work. I did not work Carino. My brother did. I was not lucky enough to work the god that is Steve Carino.
How do you deal with negativity from fans? Whether it's online, I know you've mentioned a thick skin, but does it ever weigh on you at all?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially so. I mean, working with Colt and stuff like that was really cool, but people didn't really care as much. I've worked with Colt enough times that he, he recognizes me when he sees me. He asks
Mhm.
me how I'm doing. He probably doesn't know what my name is. The guy
Yeah.
meets so many people, but I mean, when he sees me, he remembers who I am.
Mhm.
Um, and that's cool. But it's with Kenny.
Yeah.
Um, I love the guy. He was great to me every time.
Mhm.
But the fans can get really protective
Yeah.
over him. It's like a weird thing. And yeah, I mean, I got death threats. I got you know, some really awful, you fat piece of shit, scumbag, don't deserve to be in there, fucking nobody, loser, like all that kind of stuff. And yeah, some death threats
Mhm.
and some whatever. And for every one of those messages, there was 5. Dude, that's awesome. This is crazy.
Mhm.
I can't believe I know someone that's worked with Kenny. I had friends came to the one or two of the matches. I've gotten lucky enough to work with them 4 times, which is
Mhm.
insane. I think I had a couple friends of mine. They were like, I can't believe I know someone that's wrestled Kenny, and I got to see it. So for all of the those negative ones, you just got to remember that there's more positive ones, and
Mhm.
that's kind of how I dealt with it. If you don't want to see me, don't watch.
Mhm.
If you don't think I deserve it, too bad.
Mhm.
Um, because I feel like I do. Okay. When it comes to working with Kenny, I never do. I've always said like, "Why do you want to work with me?" I've asked him that before.
Mhm.
Uh, our first title win, we like didn't know he was going to be working in that match. He kind of tapped me and my brother on the shoulder. Was like, "So, hi guys. So, if it's okay with you, um, I'm gonna be in your match now." And we were like, "If it's okay with us, dude, you do whatever the fuck you want. You want to win now?
Yeah.
Okay, you do it. Like, you do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, it's
Mhm.
kind of your show here, man. Like, you built this kind of." So, he's always been super respectful, but the fans can be a lot, and it puts a lot on you. I can say I didn't enjoy working any one of those matches.
Mhm.
I did not enjoy it. I wanted to vomit the whole time. Half being out of shape compared to who I was working with, and half just
Mhm.
nerves. Um, Especially with the way he runs his matches. It's one of a kind. It's why he is who he is.
Mhm.
Um, but dealing with the negativity that came with it, it came from the locker room and it came from fans online.
Yeah.
People in the locker room are like, why some of them, and I know this, are like, why the fuck is it these guys?
Mhm.
It seemed like every time Kenny was around, it's Leo and David, Leo and David. Um, and we heard that, we got
Mhm.
it, but Andrew always stuck up for us, and that's what he wanted. So that's
Mhm.
you just, like I said, for every bit of negativity, you just got to remember that there's more positive, and that's how I've dealt with all negativity. And I put it a lot on myself. I had thought about it. I was conscious of it. I did lose, 30, 40 pounds, and it was partly because of that.
Hmm.
And it was a good thing too. It was a really, I just blew my mic out there a little bit. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
It was a good thing too. And the phrase is haters are going to hate, but at the same time, people are just constantly going to be out there tearing down what you're
Hmm.
doing. Doesn't matter how good it is. That's with fantasy football, with wrestling, relationships, friendships. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody that wants to do it because that's what gets them off.
Hmm.
And if I listened to all of it, I wouldn't do anything. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So this is for you and for anyone else, content creating. You just or performing, you just got to deal with it. And it
Hmm.
sucks, but you just deal with it and you roll with it. You become a bigger and better person for it.
Hmm.
So for all those death threats and nasty messages when the Omega Man documentary came out
Hmm.
that we were lucky enough to be a part of,
Yeah.
like, sorry, man. It sucks that you don't think I should be there, but I am there.
Hmm.
So, it just is what it is.
There's so much negativity in wrestling as it is that, like,
Yeah.
if you're a fan
Yeah.
and if you don't like something, there's something else out there that I'm sure you will love, you know? So
Hmm.
don't shit on stuff that someone else really enjoys just
Hmm.
because you don't like it, you know?
That's football too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's football too. Like, if you like a certain player, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? You like a certain team, you're ostracized.
Hmm.
But yeah, so wrestling fans have ruined wrestling for me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like Twitter and that, I don't watch wrestling now because of it, because I can't talk about it,
Hmm.
you know? And that sucks. That really sucks. I mean, I used to love watching wrestling, but now it's like I can't tweet about it without somebody being like, "Well, you stupid asshole! Like, what do you think this guy's better than that guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Well, why? This is like bullshit. He won this one. Like, it's a work. Like
Hmm.
they're ruining. And I don't want to talk about it's a work, what's gimmicked. I don't want a fan saying that to me. And maybe
Hmm.
I'm a snob and maybe I'm stuck up because I feel like I know what I'm talking about or I feel like I'm trained, but I'm not with that. I
Hmm.
don't want to talk slang with you
Hmm.
as a fan. Like, I avoid it. I try not to do it. Like, oh yeah, that was a great gimmick. Oh yeah, no, I worked that really well. Like, I don't want to do that. It's not
Hmm.
your job. I know it's
Hmm.
a lot more open and a lot more known now, but you don't really know. You think you know, but you don't actually know.
Hmm.
So, like, don't talk to me like you do. Like, why didn't you do this when you're in there? It's like, oh, I don't know, because I was thinking about not fucking dropping him. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of ruined it for me now. Like, oh, I can't believe he hit the this suplex instead of doing a 450. That's what I would have done. That's how I would have booked it. Oh yeah,
Hmm.
jackass, go do it.
Hmm.
And then go talk to these super athletes, and shit on them. It's kind of ruined it for me now. Like, I can't. Oh, you watch WWE? You're a fucking loser. Am I? Because I like it?
Hmm.
Oh, you like John Cena? Yeah, I do. John Cena is one of the best ever. Deal with it. Period. Oh, you're a loser. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm not watching any of your matches. Good for you. Don't watch it. Like, it's a real problem. It's a real problem. I have a huge issue with that, and it's kind of ruined watching wrestling for me. Now, I watch wrestling to talk to my brother, to learn a couple of
Hmm.
things, and that's it. I can't do. And it's just also there's like 36 hours of live wrestling on a given week, and I just can't do it. That's part of that sacrifice thing that I talked about
Hmm.
when it comes to doing this fantasy thing. So yeah, I
One
got I got on a roll there. Oh,
one
I
thing I
didn't
will
mean
touch
to.
on, that's all right. One thing I will touch on because you did mention it is the people that shit on John Cena. I absolutely love the guy. He's part of two of my favorite matches of all time. And if you're shitting on him, you are not watching what he's doing in the ring because he
So
is absolutely fantastic.
he's amazing. I mean, the Rock Cena story. Oh, oh, that's some of the best stuff they've produced in the last 20 years, in my opinion. The whole
Hmm.
story, the whole build up, and then the match. Oh, the match sucked. Yeah, well, he tore his abdomen, so figure it out. Like, I can't remember if that was in the first or the second one, but let me tell you, I tuned into those WrestleManias. I tuned into every
Hmm.
Raw to watch it. Me as you could call me a casual now, but more than casual. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Like
I don't get it, man.
my go-to is Cena and Brock Lesnar from SummerSlam. I
Oh,
can't
big
remember
time.
what year, but I
Cena
love that
Punk.
match.
Cena
Yeah,
Punk, same thing.
all that,
Yep.
you know, it's great stuff. So,
Yep.
um, you've been wrestling for a while now.
This would
What
have been my
are
7th year, I think.
seventh year?
Yeah. Fuck
What
you, COVID.
it's thrown a wrench into your plans, eh?
Yeah.
What haven't you accomplished in wrestling, but you still want to, if anything? Maybe there's places you want to wrestle in, like different cities, or people that you want to wrestle against.
I wanted to go overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anywhere. Like, I wanted to go to the US. I want to go to Japan.
Hmm.
Because it's possible. You pay your ticket. People look down on you for paying your ticket. Fuck it. I'm going to get there. I'll pay my ticket. Someone will work with
Hmm.
me. Whether it's training or just setting up a ring somewhere, I want to live that. Will I get that chance? I don't think so. I mean, my work schedule is, I'm pretty committed to my career. I'm
Hmm.
pretty committed to this fantasy football thing.
Hmm.
I don't have a family. Like, I don't have kids. So, like, it's definitely doable. I'm working to get into better shape every day.
Hmm.
Um, maybe I can do it. Mexico, talking to AJ got me hyped on Mexico, like
Hmm.
hyped. I'd love to do that. So I owe him for that. And then talking to Knight really got me hyped up for Japan because his experience with Tajiri and all, like in his career going over there. And yeah, I think that's something that's still on my radar
Yeah.
even now. I don't think I have much longer left personally.
Hmm.
But I would like to do that with my brother.
Hmm.
I don't want to do it with anyone else. I don't want to do it on my own. I want to do it with him, especially with
Hmm.
how we grew up and being separated. And, you know, that's what I want to do it with and who I want to do it with. But that's one of them. And as for like people that want to work and stuff, I've got to work like some amazing people. And my second favorite wrestler of all time is Colt Cabana. And I got to
Hmm.
work with him. I got to pin the guy. He let me do it. I was too nervous to talk to him when he came up to me. Hey, what do you do, kid? And my brother was like laughing because I was too nervous.
Hmm.
And then my brother asked him if I would be allowed to pin him because I didn't want to ask. It was in some weird scramble match. He's like, "Yeah, fuck it, you'll do it first. That'll be the first thing we do." I was floored.
Hmm.
I got to meet Carino and talk to him about baseball. That was a crazy experience. He loves the Phillies. I would just talk to him about the Phillies.
Hmm.
To think like that and like, okay, well, I've got to be on tour with Jake Roberts, and I've gotten to work with Kenny, and I've gotten to work all my friends and carry these belts that we hold to such esteem and we respect so much for the other people that have worn it. There's not a lot that I can say that I want to do. Like, I've kind of achieved everything I wanted to achieve and then more,
Hmm.
an unbelievably large amount more. And I've met so many great people. I just want to keep doing that. The only thing I might be able to say that I want to do is maybe I do want to hold a singles title one day.
Hmm.
Maybe because you do got to prove yourself and you do have to um work that little bit harder and to get that spot because there's so many guys that want to do it. And I
Hmm.
think one day if Andrew ever looks at me that way, I think my brother would be supportive. And
Hmm.
I think maybe holding a singles title might be like another one. I think I've won one, right? But I respect the PCW ones, like the Canadian, the heavy.
For
Like,
sure.
I respect those titles a lot because I respect the company and I
Hmm.
respect everything that's and the people that have come before me.
Hmm.
So I think that might be it. That might be it. Like, I would love to wrestle Scott again one day. With him being in Australia, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I'm holding out hope.
Hmm.
And you know, I think that's it, man. Honestly, I've really
Sure.
been fortunate. Now I just want to help other people and be there with other people and achieve what they want to do because I'm blessed enough and lucky enough to not only be walking
Hmm.
but to be able to do what I've been able to do. And yeah, there's ups and downs and some people are assholes and so am I. But I mean, I think I've achieved everything I wanted to. I don't think there's anything I can sit there and say that, man, I really wish I did this or I really wish I did that. Like, it's all
Hmm.
about the fun for me now. And all about the experiences that are left to come. I don't think I can really say that I'm greedy enough to say that the stuff I want to do aside from, yeah, I definitely want to make it overseas at some point, or like even to the States, and then just say that I did it and that I achieved that goal. And I like to wrestle back home once, in Ontario once. I think that would be pretty cool too. But
Well, I hope you get that
that's
chance.
probably it. Those are pretty small goals, I think, considering. But yeah, I've just been so lucky to, a short, fat, not totally properly trained, loudmouth, perceived bad attitude, ruffian. I've achieved a lot actually, so I can say I'm lucky for that.
I definitely hope you get that chance. I mean, I think that'd be great for you, and especially for everything you've put in, so
Yeah,
it'd be really
I
good.
mean, hopefully.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
You've mentioned some of the matches you've been in. Do you have a favorite one or two that really stick out above the rest? And if
Yes.
so, what are they?
So, Flex Appeal is a team of Mike McSugar and Michael Allen, Richard Clark. They're amazing, and we did a 6-title or a 3-championship storyline with them for like a year.
Okay.
It's a full year. We worked multiple matches with them, and the big payoff match where they finally beat us and won all 3 titles is probably my favorite match of all time. The crowd was into everything. We had the whole, like, our manager's not here today, he's out doing something else. Then he comes out and distracts them. The crowd freaks out and they see that. Then they finally kick out of, our finish that no one had kicked out of yet. Our snapshot variant. And they kicked out of it, and the crowd was just, wowed, and it was amazing. That match was amazing. Those guys were amazing. Vinko was the manager for them, and we got to do some really cool stuff with him. Rob Mass was our bodyguard. It was the second closest thing we had to like a TV storyline, and it was pretty incredible. That's my favorite match ever.
Nice.
My second favorite match ever is probably my first ever wrestling match.
Yeah.
For SPW with my brother.
Okay.
We said that Stardom had wanted me to work multiple times. I said the only person I'm going to work at first is my brother. He's going to be my first match. Whether you provide that or somebody else does, that's what I want to do. Again, part of the reason why I have a bad attitude, but or proclaim that I do. But that was my goal. That was my dream. So that's what I held out for, and we did it. And you know what? The match probably wasn't good. I know we botched the finish because I moved. From his spinning back fist, which hurt like a bitch, asshole. So I moved without thinking about it, and then whatever, we salvaged it. And then even people said like that wasn't bad considering like this is his first match ever, and like you're pretty new too. Talking to my brother, so it was just a moment that in the moment is one of those times where I was like, I'm doing this now. Again, it's pretty cool. It's pretty incredible. Honorable mentions, like all our matches with Sweet and Tasty. Yeah. All of them. Like they are our Midnight Express to our rockers. Like they're amazing to work with. They're great guys. They're into everything, like ideas, like crazy. They're competitive. They work with the crowd like we do. A London and Sweet and Tasty match is usually a pretty loud affair with the crowd, and that's what you want. And it's easy with those guys, and those matches are probably the match we had with them the night we did the Omega Man documentary, because we opened the show with a tag match, is probably my favorite one with them.
Yeah.
And then I worked with O'Doyle, the Saskatchewan O'Doyle, as a singles match. And that was probably my favorite singles match I ever did. Like it went really well, took a few too many bumps than I probably had to. But I was really happy with it. That was the one match I was really happy with as a singles competitor. So I enjoyed that. That's definitely one of my favorites. But for favorite matches, I know I'm gonna leave a lot of people out, and I'm sorry for that. But the Sweet and Tasty, the Flex Appeal, my match with Doyle, and then if I, man, me. So when Scott was leaving, that was a really emotional day for all of us because we knew he wasn't coming back for a while. We knew he was going back home. And we weren't even supposed to work a match with them. It was supposed to be just Scott and Jackie, but we asked. We're like, hey, he's family. So we got to work that tag match, and that was the most emotional. It was sloppy too because we were all just a mess. We were just a mess. But there's the picture of us crying. Like there's the picture of all of us in the ring after Scott and Jackie had wrestled, and we were all just crying. And it's all real tears. Like we're legitimately sad, and that's how we felt through that whole match because we knew this would be the last one. And so that's a favorite of mine just for the memory of that being what it is. But I mean, that whole time we were just an emotional wreck. I mean, I had to tag out at one point because it was taking me over, and I know my brother did too. We just had to tag out because it was just getting the best of us. We had to collect ourselves, and it's a pretty wild thing to think about, but that's definitely one of my favorites for sure. So that if I had to pick 5, that's definitely 5, and then of course anything I ever did with Cabana because favoritism. And I know people might seem weird that they're like, "Oh, he's not talking about Kenny." Yeah, again, I didn't enjoy those. They weren't fun to me. They were, had to be perfect and whatever. And for the most part, I think I botched one finish in one of them, but to be expected, I guess.
Yeah, it happens, So
it's okay. Stevens made sure I felt it, so that's good.
So we've talked. We're both Leaf fans.
Yes.
Just a quick couple things about the Leafs.
Buds all day.
Of course, Buds all day. Who are give me a couple of your favorite Leafs?
Doug Gilmour, Dmitry Yuskevich, Wendell Clark, Austin Matthews.
Oh, beautiful. The only other one I toss in there.
Dmitry Yuskevich is my favorite Leaf of all time, and I get called really weird for that, but yeah, it's Yuskevich.
He was. They've missed a defensive presence like him since.
Yeah, they tried to do it with Phaneuf, and it wasn't the same. But Yuskevich was a badass. I loved him. Yeah.
The only other one I'll add to that is Darcy Tucker because he basically made me a Leaf fan. So
can't do it. He cost us the series against Philly in 2007. It's his fault. He never should have pinched on that check. There's no reason to do it. And fuck you, Toskala, but same shit.
And I first became a Leaf fan, and this is terrible to say, was when they played New Jersey back in 99 or 2000, I think it was.
Oh, they had 2 or 3 years in a row where they played each other in the playoffs for some reason.
Well, and Domi elbowed Niedermeyer and took him out. That was how I became a Leaf fan because I was like, "This is incredible," and I feel really guilty about that now. But
don't
fuck it.
People still love Scott Stevens, and he almost killed Korea on purpose.
But David, thank you very much for this. I had a great time. I really enjoyed this. I know you mentioned it at the beginning of the show, but where can people find you and how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. I mean, on the Twitters, there's David London _PCW. That's kind of my main regular spot, but I'm almost never there anymore because I'm so consumed with fantasy football. And like I said, for that, you can find me at Thomas Tipple FF. On the Twitters, you can find me at fantasyintervention.com. I have an article about Hollywood Brown. I have a YouTube video at Fantasy Intervention about the GOAT himself, Tom Brady. Pretty short video there. Lots of fun. If you're debating whether or not to draft him, you should. I have another article coming out this weekend, I believe, about Kevin Zeitler signing in Baltimore. So if you're into that kind of stuff, go to fantasyintervention.com. There's also a lot of other great stuff there. You can find me on Twitch too at FF_IMBQ. I've started that up, talking football and games with friends and people in the industry. So that's getting started.
Awesome.
That's the gaming circle _ again, as I mentioned before, which is the fantasy intervention one for streaming. And then join our circle _ for all your fantasy football needs. Like we pretty much cover it all there. And I'll be restarting the hobby shop and the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast as well in the coming months. I've just been so busy with going from being a fan of fantasy football to working in fantasy football a little bit that it's kind of consumed me. But I will be kicking those up as well. So I will be peddling all of my wares. And then you can find us at PCW, man, whenever we get fired up. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait. I can't wait to be back there. So that's it for me.
I'm so excited to go back to a show and to see you guys back out there again. I honestly can't wait. So
yeah, man, I can't. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I had a great time with this. I'd love to do it again.
Perfect. Thanks again.
No problem, brother.